Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. This is a good time we are having today. We have with us Vivian and Mike. Vivian and Mike are from Chiboga Hospital, and they are going to talk to us about the project we are doing together with them. They are doing sickle cell screening in a rural hospital in Chiboga district in Uganda. They're working very hard. They are doing it out of the goodness of their heart. They are volunteers, and they've been doing it for several years now, and they're going to tell us on the progress. Now, thank you very much for joining us again. We have a couple of people who are joining us. We have some students, and also we have on with us just joined in Dr. Shu from Chicago. Dr. Shu is one of the friends of the project. He has been always giving us advice on the project. He's a sickle cell doctor himself. He treats people with sickle cell disease, and basically has devoted all his time for treating sickle cell patients. That's very good. It's a noble cause. Thank you very much. Now, let me not speak too much, and let me give it to Vivian and Mike. Okay, you go.
Okay, hello everyone. You're welcome to this presentation. I'm Vivian, a biomedical lab scientist, and I'm with Mike Biachika. We are excited to present to you the sickle cell project at Chiboga Hospital in Uganda. Chiboga General Hospital is a district referral hospital located in Chiboga District, Central Region of Uganda, East Africa. The hospital is about 120 kilometers, that is around 75 miles northwest of Mulago National Referral Hospital in Kampala City, the Ugandan capital. So first of all, what is sickle cell? Let me forward to you my friend Mike to briefly talk about sickle cell disease.
Everyone, my name is Mike Biachika. I am a laboratory technologist from Makerere University, Uganda. Well, sickle cell refers to a group of inherited red blood cell disorders. Red blood cells contain hemoglobin, a protein that carries oxygen. Remember, this is the red pigment in the red cells, and it gives the blood the red pigmentation. Healthy red blood cells are round, softy, and spongy. They are very flexible, and they move around small blood vessels to carry oxygen to all parts of the body. In contrast, the red blood cells of individuals with sickle cell disease become rigged and shaped like a crescent moon or a farmer's sickle. Red blood cells in sickle cell disease do not last as long in the body as normal red blood cells. This leads to anemia. When you look at this picture, there is a normal red blood cell versus a sickled red blood cell. What actually happens is the sickled red blood cells have a shorter lifespan than the normal red blood cells. This makes their destruction very easy, and they keep breaking down, which leads to hemolytic anemia. And that is the type of anemia that sickle cell patients usually suffer. As the cells break down, it leads to anemia, and then the rate at which they are being produced cannot match the rate at which they are being destroyed. So there will be severe hemolytic anemia. Also, one of the byproducts of hemolysis is bilirubin. The more the breakdown of the cells, the more bilirubin is generated, and that is why we have jaundice in these sickle cell patients. We have various types of sickle cell disease. One of the most severe is sickle cell anemia, where the child inherits sickle hemoglobin from both parents. We have sickle hemoglobin C disease, where the child inherits sickle hemoglobin from one parent and hemoglobin C from another. Then we have sickle beta thalassemia disease, which is categorized into sickle beta plus thalassemia and sickle beta 0. Sickle beta 0 is more or less is like sickle cell anemia. They are very severe forms. However, in Uganda, the commonest is sickle cell anemia, number 1. We also have sickle hemoglobin D Punjab, sickle hemoglobin E disease, sickle hemoglobin Arab disease, and sickle hemoglobin with hereditary persistence, fetal hemoglobin. Now, this one, fetal hemoglobin is like baby hemoglobin. It is born, when the child is born, they have this hemoglobin in large quantities. And this particular strain is a bit protective to the child because the fetal hemoglobin that is produced will help reduce the amount of sickle hemoglobin being produced. And all these types of sickle cell disease are problematic, but the severity changes depending on which strain you have.
About the sickle cell project in Chiboga Hospital, it started in mid-2018 when Dr. Derek Mubiru came to Uganda and provided the equipment and the materials for the project to start, and more supplies that were provided by the donors. Derek Mubiru trained the laboratory staff in Chiboga Hospital on how to operate the sickle cell diagnostic machine, and I, Vivian Asimwe, and Mike Biachika volunteered to work as the laboratory staff of the project. Project started with a semi-automated HB electrophoresis machine called Helena. This machine was used for sickle cell disease testing from mid-2018 up to early 2022 when it broke down. We operated it using acetate membranes, and it could produce the result data through donation. Dr. Mubiru sent us a new machine, that is the Imex Gazelle HB variant, and this machine is fully automated and it produces results within 8 minutes. One good thing about it, it also categorizes the results into the different hemoglobin variants, which the other machine couldn't do. So we screen and test for sickle cell disease, and the project mostly targets children from 0 to 9 months. Why that age group? It is important for early detection of sickle cell, so that is good for early treatment and management. However, we also do screening and testing to the whole family. That is, when we get a sickle cell positive patient, we counsel the parents, and the parents bring the other siblings. We also test them. But the biggest percentage we receive and test, they are usually children 5 years and below. Since 2018, we've so far tested 1,027 people in total. Out of those, 179 samples are positive for sickle cell disease. This is around 17%. The percentage is a bit high because most of these patients come when they are suspected to have sickle cell, when they have signs and symptoms of sickle cell. 172 sickle cell trait samples. These are mostly siblings of the sickle cell patients and parents. and 676 negative samples. People screened and tested are mostly residents of Kiboga district and the neighboring districts, that is Chankwanzi, Mityana, Kasanda, and Mubende. And the major players in this screening are the maternity ward, pediatrics ward, and the outpatient department. From the maternity ward is where we mostly get the newborns. Then the pediatrics is where we get children below 5 years. Then the outpatient is where we get people 5 years and above. No.
Thank you, Vivian. After piloting the sickle cell project at Kiboga Hospital, the leadership of the hospital came to see it as necessary and started a sickle cell disease clinic that operates on every second Friday of the month. This means that we are operating the clinic once every month. Mr. Kasule Farouk, the in charge of the hospital pediatric ward, is also the head of this sickle cell disease clinic. When you look at the picture before you, is Mr. Kasule Farouk, Viviana Simwe, and I, Mike Viachika. The people you see, or the children you see, we got consent from their parents to have their picture and show you what exactly we mean by handling these clients. All positive clients are referred to this clinic for further management and counseling of the family, that is, the parents or guardians of the positive patient on areas such as disease management, nutrition, and family planning. Remember, sickle cell is hereditary, and parents of the diseased child must be advised on how to plan for the family. Management of positive patients. Now, before testing, all patients are counseled. Here, we counsel the parents of those children that are going to be tested. The patients are told about the cause of the sickle cell disease, prevention of the disease, how to manage and look after any family member who tested positive for sickle cell disease. They are also encouraged to inform their neighbors about the ongoing sickle cell project at Kiboga Hospital. All positive patients are immediately linked to the sickle cell clinic, and the parents are counseled and advised to also bring all the siblings of the positive child for testing. Full blood count, among other tests, is done to assess or find out the hemoglobin status. These kids are also screened for other infections, depending on the signs and symptoms they are manifesting. At the clinic, the parents are advised on how to properly feed their kids, that is, having a balanced diet and proper nutrition for the sickle cell disease kids. They are advised to avail adequate fluids for these children. They are also advised to avoid extremes of cold and heat. Remember, heat brings dehydration, and when they are dehydrated, this is when we have occlusion, that thickness and blockage of the blood vessels that leads to severe pain. They are also advised to avoid things that trigger infections. Their hemoglobin levels are monitored periodically to know the state at which they are in terms of whether there's anemia or not. Now, in case they are very severe, they have very severe anemia, they are hospitalized and blood transfusion is done. Blood transfusion is usually done in cases of stroke, acute chest syndrome, worsening anemia, post-operative procedures and pre-operation, among others. The medicines that are provided here in Uganda at the clinic are antibiotics, specifically penicillins, folic acid, because of the hemolytic anemia. Folic acid helps in blood formation. There is hydroxyurea or hydroxycarbamide. They are antimalarials because we are living in the tropics, and malaria is the leading cause of death in kids in Uganda. Then also painkillers. When we look at hydroxyurea, its potency, it works directly on the bone marrows to reduce the amount of sickle hemoglobin being produced. It is also proven to have to reduce the symptoms in sickle cell. Patients are followed up through phone calls. Their telephone contacts are always recorded in the result logbook and on their consent forms. At the clinic, they are physically examined and necessary laboratory tests like whole blood counts are conducted. They are also given more medicine that is taken routinely, penicillin, that is Penv, painkillers, folic acid. Hydroxycarbamide is not provided at a hospital. It is prescribed but privately acquired. The parents are also advised more on how to properly look after their sickle cell disease children. Life expectancy. Here, sickle cell disease varies in severity from one person to another for reasons that are not clear. Research also shows that people with sickle cell disease have a reduced life expectancy. Some people with the disease can remain with symptoms for years, while others do not survive beyond infancy. New treatments for sickle cell disease are improving life expectancy and the quality of life. Sickle cell disease patients can survive beyond their 50s with optimal management of the disease after early detection. But if the strain you're having, for example, the commonest strain in Uganda, the sickle cell anemia, which is HBSS, that one is very severe and usually the patients don't survive beyond their infancy.
We have some challenges in the project, and we've listed some of them. One of the challenges we face in Kiboga Hospital and Kiboga District as a whole, one is lack of awareness about the disease in the community. Most of the people in the community attribute the disease to witchcraft. So there is need for more sensitization and teaching people about the causes of the disease and its management. Patient follow-up is also still a challenge because of lack of access to internet and also other modes of communication. Most of the parents don't have phones, so reaching out to them is somehow very hard when they don't come to hospital because they move long distance, they come from very far. We also lack hydroxyurea. This is the drug that helps to prevent or reduce the sickling. So this drug, as a hospital, doesn't procure it, doesn't buy it, so we just prescribe it. We just prescribe it for the patient, and the patient buys it on private basis, and it is a bit expensive in Uganda. So it is one of the biggest challenges we are facing, because it's a very critical drug in the management of sickle cell disease. And there is also frequent medicine stockouts. And these other medicines, for example, the folic acid, that is the prophylaxis for anemia. It is provided by the hospital, but due to increased demand, sometimes it goes out of stock, and we go a few months without it. So some of the patients that don't have money to buy it on private pharmacies go without it. Even the antibiotics, the antimalarials, sometimes they go out of stock from the hospital. Inadequate blood for transfusion, that is for patients whose HB are really low. At some point, the hospital goes without blood, and sometimes we end up losing such patients because we don't have blood. And some patients also miss appointments because they can hardly afford transport to the hospital for review. You find that a patient will have to move more than 10 kilometers to come to the hospital. So when a patient doesn't have the energy to walk to the hospital, sometimes they miss appointments and they come back when they are really very ill. So the clinic also lacks a dedicated pediatrician to help us manage, especially the children that have severe cases. There is also malnutrition among the sickle cell patients that is noted because of the low standard of living. These patients really need a balanced diet, but sometimes the parents cannot afford to give them the balanced diet they really need. Some of the recommendations we listed is we are planning to start up an outpatient daycare for sickle cell disease patients and avail them the necessary medicines. There is appoint an on-call pediatrician, at least to come on every clinic day to help us manage these children more, because the biggest number we have in the clinic are children below 5 years. We increase the number of follow-up visits from once a month to maybe at least once every week. That is at least 4 times a month. There is need to train more staff on counseling, especially the positive patients, on how to manage the positive patients and the parents or guardians of these patients, on how to manage, how to live with them, how to encourage them. There is also, we need a laboratory staff refresher training, laboratory staff on how to screen sickle cell disease. Educate the community about sickle cell disease to increase awareness, so that people don't attribute the disease to witchcraft, so that they know the causes of the disease, how to manage it, how to live with patients with sickle cell, to reduce on the death rates of sickle cell patients. Educating the families of the sickle cell patients on how to properly manage the patients at home is also very important. Our future plan as a project is to procure more diagnostic machines to extend sickle cell testing services close to the people in hard-to-reach areas of the district. This will help us increase the testing capacity and reduce the turnaround time, the time the results take to come out or to reach to the people in hard-to-reach areas. So by doing this, we are increasing awareness of the project to the entire district. So we expect to get even more numbers than the ones we have. And we can only do this given more time and more donations. Yes, thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, for the project you are doing, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Vivian. Now, I want to see if you have some questions. If somebody has questions, you can type the questions in a dialog box. There is a box somewhere there. That's if I can find it. Or you just pick the mic and ask the question. Yes, do you have a comment, Dr. Sue? Lewis, maybe let's start with you.
Oh, well, congratulations for bringing it this far. This is really stunning amount of work and 1,000 people getting screened.
Yeah, thank you very much. Most of all the work is done by Mike and Vivian. Okay, thank you.
How likely is it that your communication will get increased, that you can have more internet or phone access? It seems like that could solve a certain number of problems. Is that something that is likely in the near future, or is that like really far off?
You mean what you mean is internet access to the people
and
the people, phone access and internet access in the district.
Right.
That's kind of difficult because we are working with they are working. It's a rural district, very rural district, and sickle cell kind of makes everybody like all the money is spent. So they are very poor people. So that would be a difficult problem. Yes, it's a challenge. But phones are becoming a little bit more common. So yeah, there is hope, but still it's a challenge. Yes.
Also, how we can solve that is since we are planning to increase awareness and maybe procurement of more diagnostic equipment and position them in these areas. You just give these people appointments. They know that maybe every Friday they are coming back to the hospital to receive their treatment, to receive more counseling, to look at the child. That would be more easy. That would be easier. Yes. They just keep it in their mind that we have an appointment, say like on a Friday, so they will always access these services.
Also, increasing awareness, we can move to schools, hospitals, or deep down in the village, because most of the people on Sunday, they come for prayers. So we capture them on Sunday, we teach them about sickle cell, we make them aware, we give them appointments. So it is one way of how we shall make more people get more awareness about the disease.
Oh, so okay. You go closer to their homes?
Yes.
Or somebody goes closer to home, yeah.
Somebody goes. Thank you very much, yes. Yeah, let me see. Any questions? Who is there? Let me see. Who do we have? What? Christina, are you there, Christina? Okay, I don't know. I can't see. Anybody can?
James, I'm here. Thank you.
Yeah, can you ask a question because we want to hear from you?
I mean, the presentation was so good. It was very informative. It's just so sad. I think you said you lose a lot of patients specifically from malaria, but sickle cell is supposed to help with that, is it not? I mean, with the evolution of sickle cell, the cells that the malaria can't get into the red blood cells, so it's kind of protective, but it's not at the same time, is kind of what I'm hearing.
It's like if you are sickle cell trait, you have some kind of protection. But if you are sickle cell disease, then yes, it's too much of a problem with sickle cell disease. But with the trait, there is some protection, yes. And again, Dr. Shu has more on that than I know. So malaria and sickle cell disease, give us some take on that, Dr. Shu.
Yeah, so with sickle trait and other increased oxidant stress inside the red cell, the malaria parasite does not survive as well, and also assembling the tubules machinery to get the malaria parasite out of the cell gets broken up. So the sickle trait interferes with the malaria parasite life cycle. But sickle cell disease, but the malaria parasite can still get in there, so you just have relative resistance, not complete.
Yep.
And then for sickle cell disease, because the person is starting from a baseline that's worse, more ill, some anemia, some large spleen, maybe poor nutrition, so it makes them more vulnerable to dying of malaria. So in many countries, what's described is that the deaths of children with sickle cell is either from bacterial or malarial infection. It's leading to things, yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you
Yeah.
for the clarification.
Yeah, my other general question I have, and again, I don't know the answer to this, hydroxyurea is a key medication, which is key to the project. But from what I hear from Vivian and Mike is you prescribe it, but sometimes it's not available at the hospital. So the parents have to go maybe in the city and buy it. That's a challenge. That's a challenge. And we don't have a solution to that because it's an expensive medication. We know it helps. You guys prescribe it, but it's not available in the village where you are. So that's a challenge. It's just my comment. Maybe Vivian and Mike, you don't have a solution to that, but just I saw that as a big challenge.
Yeah.
What is the price of hydroxyurea compared to like daily wages or monthly income? I've heard prices like $1 US per dose.
I want to convert. I don't know, Dr. Ombiru, you can help me convert, but
yes,
it is in Ugandan shillings. Every capsule is 1,500 shillings.
Okay,
that is almost $half because the
half a dollar.
Yes.
So half a dollar for one capsule.
4,000. Yes.
So half a dollar for one capsule. But how many capsules do you need? How many do you need a day? A typical.
Yes.
Like you need
depending on the milligrams prescribed. Doctors who can help us, but here they prescribe for children. They are prescribing 250 milligrams every day, and then those like 10 and above, they are prescribed 500 milligrams every day.
Every day. So that's a capsule a day, something like that. Oh, two capsules a day.
Each capsule has 200.
And each capsule, no, there's a capsule that is made.
Okay.
And it has 250 milligrams. There's another one that has 500 milligrams.
Okay.
Yes.
So basically, it's the bottom line. Half a dollar a day is too expensive to a rural family in Uganda.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Remember, it is should eat like every day, and then
every day.
There are challenges feeding,
Yes. So a family is that what? It's there's a lot of burden when the child has sickle cell disease and they can't afford the medication. Even they can't afford maybe basic food to keep the child healthy. So there are lots of challenges. But let us not give up hope. we can work. We can overcome the challenges. Now let me see if somebody has a question. I think Kalina was there. Kalina, you have a question? No.
Yes, Karina has a question.
Okay.
She's asking when it comes to pain during sickle cell crisis. When it comes to pain during sickle cell crisis, how do you usually help to reduce pain for little kids? Like we said, among the medicines we give them are the painkillers. These painkillers help a lot to manage the pain they usually have. And
Yeah, also depending on the severity of the pain, sometimes the parents are advised to do warm baths, like they are advised to have warm water and a cloth, and then they massage that area with the pain. Also, for severe, like acute chest syndrome, that can always be solved by transfusion. And that is how we are solving such cases at the hospital.
Okay. Yeah, transfusions can also be challenging because of the what the blood, what matching the blood, typing the blood, getting ready access to blood, especially in a rural area, it can be challenging. But I'm happy to hear that you guys can still do that. The hospital can do that. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? I don't know if you have any other questions or. Okay, I think you guys, let me leave you. What do you think, Dr. Sue? Well, let me leave you. We can talk through email or some other thing so that they can go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to let you know, though, the problem with medicines out of stock, we're having that too. So penicillin is in some sort of manufacturing shortage. So in Chicago, I'm having people run out of penicillin.
Oh, that's kind of interesting. I thought that penicillin is supposed to be relatively cheap medication. Again, you can correct me on that. Is it cheap medication, penicillin?
Apparently, it is so cheap that there's no incentive for the companies to make it.
Oh,
and so the number of manufacturers is dropping.
Because they don't make money from it. There's no money to be made. Okay, okay. So medications out of stock, it happens also in the US. Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, okay.
So we share your pain in a little bit of way.
Yeah, we share your pain. Okay, I think thank you very much. And again, we might have another talk for the whole club because today is just a few club members. But we are going to have a big one for like everybody at the end of the month for everybody in the club to listen in. So we'll be having, if somebody, somebody who would benefit from that, tell me, I can put them on the give them a link. So we are having another one at the end of the month for everybody in the club. Okay. And again, thank you, everybody. I also want to thank the club because the Sickle Cell Club, they've been helpful to kind of try to continue pushing the screening project ahead, and they're very supportive. Thank you very much. Okay.